Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Hope everybody's having a good day. It's 4th of July here, as you already know. I went over to my uncle's here. Been over there all day. Had some lobster and hot dogs and chicken and steak and potato salad and Christ the works. He throws a hell of a meal when he has these parties over there. Now, my Uncle Tim there is pretty good with that. And, you know, my cousins were there and other family members. What the hell is that? Oh, okay. So, yeah, it was really nice. And we talked and politics come up a little bit here and there, you know. But I think we were all like of the mindset that we're not going to focus too much on it because it's always bad, okay, and it gets us hot and mad and angry, so let's talk about something else. Okay, so yeah, and they, you know, like I said, you don't usually want to talk about religion or politics, you know, with your families or something like that. It always leads to a fight. And my aunt had, her sister is a MAGA supporter, and she was there while the rest of us were Democrats and bitching about Trump and everything, and she just kind of sat there, and you could see she was getting pissed and feeling a little bit like, you know, the spotlight was on her. But no, we, you know, it would be short, and then we wouldn't, you know, say anything else about it. As you know, last night, I think it was last night, they had passed the murder bill through a divided Congress. I mean, I think only 2 Republicans voted against it. Okay, but otherwise, everybody on the right supported it. Everybody on the left did not support it. So it went right down party lines, as I knew it would. Okay, and today, Trump is signing that piece of shit into action. I'm surprised he even bothered to let, you know, a vote happen about this, and he just didn't write out an executive order. But I think, you know, somebody must have told him that, you know, if you try to implement this through an executive order, that would trigger an impeachment or something like that. I don't know. But I'm just, like I said, I'm surprised that of all the things that he's done up to this point, he's done it through executive orders. But on this particular bill, he let that go through the process. Okay, but I'm sure he was influencing people in the background to make sure that it turned out the way he wanted it to. Okay, so I'm going to read this from USA Today, and it's published today. It says, Trump signs mega bill that slashes taxes, and they leave out for the rich, slashes Medicaid while boosting the national debt. President Trump capped the whirlwind opening stretch of his second term with a 4th of July signing ceremony for his signature legislation, reveling in pushing the mega bill through a fractious Congress and delivering on multiple campaign promises. The measure cements into law much of Trump's agenda and is being hailed by the president and his supporters as a major victory. It includes tax cuts, increased spending on immigration enforcement and the military, and deep spending reductions to Medicaid that Democrats and some Republicans have strongly criticized. But with the furious legislative debate behind him, Trump was ebullient as he signed what he has dubbed as the Big Beautiful Bill. Into law during a White House ceremony that included legislative leaders and a flyover from military planes, no less. Quote, "It's really promises made, promises kept," unquote, Trump said, addressing a crowd of supporters gathered on the White House lawn, his wife at his side. Trump sketched out some of the broad strokes of the bill on the campaign trail as he proposed to cut taxes on tipped wages and overtime pay and greatly expand immigration enforcement and deportation efforts. The legislation does that and a lot more. It extends the 2017 tax cuts that Trump passed and were set to expire at the end of this year, and has many other provisions, including reducing taxes on corporations and large estates, boosting the child tax credit, increasing the deduction for state and local taxes to $40,000, and eliminating dozens of green energy incentives. The bill reduces tax revenues by roughly $4.5 trillion over 10 years, according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. In the process, it adds $3.4 trillion to the national debt over a 10-year period, according to the CBO, and includes a $5 trillion increase in the debt ceiling. CBO projects it will result in 12 million people losing health insurance, while the Senate Joint Economic Committee minority estimates that about 20 million people could lose coverage. Medicaid is being cut by nearly $1 trillion. Different factions of Republicans took aim at the bill, with some complaining about the Medicaid cuts and other arguing the legislation didn't go far enough to cut spending. Yet the nearly 900-page legislation cleared Congress less than 6 months into Trump's second term, allowing him to quickly put in place the centerpiece of his agenda. Since reclaiming the White House, the president has moved aggressively to implement his priorities, from overhauling the federal government to mass deportations. Trump has relied heavily on executive orders to accomplish his goals, which can be reversed if a Democrat wins the presidency. The legislation he signed today could be a more lasting legacy. He was able to hold together a GOP caucus that at times seemed poised to buck him, but ultimately fell in line, once again demonstrating the president's immense influence with his own party. Quote, "I think I have more power now," unquote, Trump said after the bill passed, in discussing his sway with congressional Republicans. The legislation nearly cleared the Senate, with 3 Republicans breaking ranks to vote against it, and the chamber ending in a tie vote that was broken by Vice President J.D. Vance, resulting in a 51-50 margin. It passed the House 218 to 214, with 2 Republicans opposed. Democrats were united against the measure, saying that it disproportionately benefits the wealthy and hurts lower-income Americans. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries laid out these concerns in a marathon address that broke the record for the longest House speech. Quote, "I rise today in strong opposition to Donald Trump's disgusting abomination that guts Medicaid, rips food from the mouths of children, seniors, and veterans, and rewards billionaires with massive tax breaks," unquote, Jeffries said. The legislative drama will now give way to a political messaging battle over the legislation. Trump and his allies predict it will turbocharge the economy and ultimately benefit the party, even as polls show it's unpopular. Quote, "It's going to make this country into a rocket ship," unquote, Trump told reporters yesterday. Former Trump White House press secretary Sean Spicer called the legislation, quote, "a massive legislative and political victory," unquote, and said passing it now allows time for its efforts to, quote, "marinate into the economy, and I think will be a huge bonus for Republicans in both chambers running, unquote, in the upcoming midterm election. Quote, the consequence and effects of this bill will be baked into the economy for 18 months, and I believe our economic growth, job creation, unquote, said Spicer. Some Republicans are nervous about political fallout, though. North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis opposed the bill because of the Medicaid provisions. In a Senate floor speech criticizing the legislation, Tillis attributed his rise to U.S. Senator to blowback against former President Barack Obama's 2010 health care law, the Affordable Care Act, which fueled crushing Democratic losses across the country. The GOP is now rushing into similarly perilous territory, Tillis implied, by cutting Medicaid. So, yeah, I mean, that's obvious. There's a possibility of this causing a lot of harm to the Republicans come next year. And I think that because this bill got passed now, it gives the Republicans time to figure out a tactic, to figure out how we're going to spin what's going to happen, make this a positive, so that way the voters, our voters, will go to the voting booth thinking that this bill has helped the country. Instead, even though they're watching the country falling apart all around them, they got to convince their voters that this bill was a good bill. That's the problem they're looking at right now. Okay, because I think, okay, that a lot of these people, even in the Republican Party, realize that this bill is a fucking terrible risk, and it's not really going to deliver everything Trump thinks it's going to deliver, and that there's going to be a lot of impact in the red states mostly that depend heavily on the government for help. It's going to hurt them the quickest. And so they got to hurry up and figure out how are we going to spin this so that way we can sell the idea, even though people are going to be affected by the fallout from this. They're going to see, things happening, bankruptcies, stores closing, jobs, people losing their jobs. They're going to see a lot of things happening. The people that lose their Medicaid, they're going to have an expense on their back that they're not going to be able to afford. Just the other day, one of my aunt's sons was trying to get Ozempic. His doctor prescribed him Ozempic for his diabetes. The prescription cost $1,000. $1,000. All he had was Main Care, by the way, to cover his expenses. But Main Care wasn't going to pay that. They were not going to pay for that Ozempic. That cost was going to be on him. Okay? So that's just one tiny example here of what people are going to be faced with when they lose, better health care protection, which Main Care isn't. Okay? Main Care is basically for people who really have nothing. Okay? The poorest of the poor have that because they can't afford anything, anything else. But at the same time, it's laughable that a doctor would prescribe somebody a medication that costs that much to somebody they know is not covered under something that's going to take a part of that chunk of the cost. But a lot of people are going to be in the same boat now that this bill's been passed. They're going to lose what they have, what they've been used to having to buy their prescriptions with. And now they're not going to have that, and they're not going to be able to buy any more of the prescriptions. Now, what do you think is going to happen to people that are not taking their medicine for whatever reason that you can imagine? Okay? What do you think is going to happen? You're going to have problems all over this fucking country here. We're not talking about, small pockets here and there. We're talking about millions. Millions of Americans are going to suffer needlessly because they lost their fucking health care. So that money that was going to go to that is going in the pockets of the wealthy who could care less about whether that person has their medication to keep them alive or to keep them sane, for that matter. Okay? Nobody's going to care about the wealthies. They're not going to care about what happens to these people. And if you think, oh, trickle-down economics, okay, you ain't been paying attention at all. Trickle-down has already proven it doesn't work. Why? Because people, when you give them money, they sit on it. They don't invest it in a goddamn thing. The rich in this country don't care about America, so they're not going to contribute anything to it. They don't want to consider themselves part of our community. They don't want to be considered to be part of America. They want all the benefits of being an American, but they don't want to fucking contribute into it. Okay? They're always looking for a loophole, a way to get out from having to be a active member of the American society. And believe me, it is a society, and it's supposed to be active. We're all a part of it. The people, we're supposed to have the power of the government, you and me and everybody's supposed to be part of it. All right? But the wall between Americans and the American dream got taller today when Trump signed that murder bill, okay? It got taller today. On one side of that wall, you got the wealthy, you got the government, all the fat cats enjoying the 4th of July. They're celebrating like never before. On the other side of that wall, they're going to have the poor, the homeless, uninsured people suffering. They won't have time to celebrate the 4th of July or feel like celebrating it. Okay? We're not seeing what the benefit is of being an American anymore, because all those benefits have been transferred over to just certain few in this country. It's been taken out of our hands. So America ain't America anymore. It's not. It used to be the land of the free, the home of the brave. Well, freedom only for those who want it. I mean, it's just, or those who they deem worthy of it. Okay? And you're certainly not free to elevate yourself in this country anymore to a higher status. You know? It seems like the only way people can actually climb that ladder of success is by breaking laws on the way up, the way Trump did. Okay? And all those people that he appointed, I mean, every single one of them has a shady history. Every fucking one of them. Okay? And they're all selfish, they're all greedy, and they're all in it for themselves. And it seems like this is how in this country you do that. How you rise above being poverty, middle class. To get to the top, you got to step on a lot of people's backs. Okay? And that's the way they like it. That's the way the Republicans like it. They want it that way because it makes it harder for people to get up that fucking economic ladder. They don't want to do a goddamn thing for you. They proved that today. They proved it last night. They're in it. It's hooray for me and to hell with you. I've said that many times before, that's what republicanism is all about in this country. Okay? It's selfishness. They feed on selfishness. And they use hatred to garner that fucking need to be wealthy and, trying to take away the flag and wrap it around themselves. So when I woke up and I saw that, it passed, I wasn't surprised. It's like I said yesterday. Trump is a guy that you can become a millionaire if you bet on him doing all the wrong things. Okay? If you expect Trump to do anything good for you, you're going to be bankrupt. But if you bet on him fucking you over some way, you're going to win your bet. Okay? You're going to win your bet. And I bet that Donald Trump was going to pass, or that the MAGA actually, the Republicans would pass that fucking bill. And if they didn't, Trump would executive order that motherfucker. Okay? One way or another, those tax cuts would have been renewed, regardless of how that vote turned out. Okay? He wasn't going to let this year pass without that getting through. So I knew it was going to happen. Okay? And I think everybody that went through the whole process of making this into a law understood that, look, we can oppose this, but he's going to turn around and find another way to get it through. Okay? So we can either get this shit over and done with now, so, we can fight him later on it, or fight him now and have him win anyway. Okay? because Trump is that kind of guy. He will cross the lines of ethics to get what he wants. If he has to threaten people, hold swords of Damocles over everybody's fucking head, he will do that sort of thing. He will actually encourage members of his fucking cabinet to do those sorts of things. So that's why it's really sad that, we have this presidency, this dictator / presidency happening in this country. But if I was well, I'm not a betting man, but if, I like to say that I would, but if I was a betting man, I would bet that this bill is going to be the last straw on the back of this country. And as I said about this year being about the decline of our country, next year is going to be about the uprising of the country, because the disaster that this bill will bring will not be tolerated for long. People will revolt. Okay, people get angry, when they try to get services. Okay, I don't know how much stuff you guys watch on TV about crimes and stuff like that, but people these days, they blow up. If they go to a goddamn Taco Hell restaurant, okay, and they have to wait more than 5 minutes to get their order, they'll get right in your goddamn face. They'll go right into that fucking restaurant and get right into your face. It's like everybody's nerves are at their end in this country. Everybody is operating on fumes. They're wore out. They're exhausted. They're also very strung out and upset and angry because nothing in their life is going right. Now, you get a guy passes a bill like this. What do you think that's going to do? It's like the last fucking straw dropped on these people who are at their wits' end. What do you think is going to happen? You're going to see an uprising of crime from one side of this country to the other that you haven't seen in who knows how long. Okay, robberies, theft of vehicles, and people getting killed, assassinated. You're going to see grifters grifting like never before. You're just going to see chaos beginning to reign in the country. And these people who feel like they've got no choice but to do that, other people will feel like, hey, I've lost everything. Thanks to Trump, I've got nothing left to lose. I'm going to go after the man. Okay, things like that. And then, of course, let's not forget the shit we stirred up overseas. I was talking to my family today. Every one of them says, except for the aunt there, okay? Every one of those people said, we expect, to see another 9/11 in this country within the next, 5 to 10 years. It takes them a while to respond to something like what happened here, but they will respond. It will happen. They'll pretend like everything is calm and all that. That's when they strike. That's when they strike, when everyone least expects it. We didn't know that, 9/11 was going to happen until we woke up that morning and we saw it on TV. Okay? Nobody expected that. It's like, why? Who did? Okay? The government knew more about it than the general public did, but they didn't act on it because they didn't even think that was going to happen. Okay? They ignored it, thinking that the report was, shit, was just bullcrap. That's the way it's going to happen again. That they will bide their time, work out a plan that's foolproof, that will get them through into this country, and do whatever they got to do. Okay, but it's going to happen. All right. Now let's think about this for here a second. These problems I laid out. Do you actually think Donald Trump is the right guy to be able to handle that onslaught of shit from the people? The crimes going up through the roof and attacks from other countries in the United States. Do you think he is as the right person for that job? Okay, just like George W. Bush wasn't the right man for the job in his time there with the 9/11. Okay, we're going to have the same repeat of all the same shit Okay, those people who didn't go through 9/11, well, you're going to go through it now. Okay, you missed 9/11, but you're going to be around for this. Okay, and it's probably going to be worse. So you guys are going to be able to relive what we lived, okay, 20-something years ago. Okay, you guys are going to live through that. Okay, and it's probably going to be worse for you, because it was bad when we, the first time with George W. Bush, because, you know, he used everybody's anger to direct an attack against the country. It had nothing to do with it. Okay, and then he says, oh, mission accomplished. And then all of a sudden we started losing troops all over the goddamn place from terrorist attacks. You know? So this new generation, these people in their 20s and stuff now, or younger, they're going to witness some terrible events now from what Trump just done here recently. Okay? This isn't going to just go away because they wish it to. These people will not forget. They will not forget. All right? All right, let's go to commercial break. We'll be back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This
is me.
me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Happens in countries like Russia, Iran, and China. The inner circle of the dictator get very rich, while the rest of the country struggles. Now it's happening in America. Donald Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, over $4.5 million. Stephen Miller, that angry little guy his own family attacks, hundreds of thousands. Trump's former golf caddy, Dan Scavino, over $2 million. Sergio Gore, 38-year-old former DJ from Malta, over $1 million. What's Donald Trump done for you? You paying less for eggs? Your taxes gone down? Social Security offices are closing. VA services slashed. Trump's pushing the largest Medicaid cut in history and the biggest tax cut for billionaires. Trump's golden circle gets rich while the rest of us struggle. It's not fair. Russia, Iran, China, corrupt dictatorships. And now, America. Donald Trump. It's just not working.
Years ago, the guns fell silent across Europe.
The bloodiest war in European history ended with the unconditional surrender of Nazi Germany. This was good versus evil, and good won. They came from small towns and big cities, the men and women of America, ready to die in places they had never heard of, for a people they didn't know. Why did this greatest generation sacrifice so much? Because they understood that freedom is fragile. They believed every human life had dignity. What would these heroes think of what Donald Trump is trying to do to America? Arresting judges, the breakdown of rule of law, a powerful state that disappears its own citizens with no due process, an angry leader who thinks he's all-powerful. They saw it and gave their all to end that evil. Today, 80 years since VE Day, let us honor the greatest generation by holding their values dear. They had different politics, but they knew right from wrong. They knew what it meant to be an American. Now it's our turn to fight for America, to stand up to a darkness that threatens the basic rights of Americans, a leader who believes he is above the law. No one is asking us to charge across a bloody beach. All that's asked of us is that we remember the greatest generation's legacy and prove we're worthy of their sacrifice, that we are worthy to call ourselves Americans.
Never mix salt with these two ingredients if you don't want your hose to be rock hard tonight. Every time you see an older man with a young woman, you can bet he's using the salt trick. In fact, I've been left unable to walk for more than 4 days because of it. This talk about women only wanting money is just an excuse from guys who can't perform in bed. What women really care about is whether a man can heat things up in the bedroom and keep everything working. Having worked in the adult industry for many years, I discovered this after watching a video by Emily, a friend and former adult film star. In the video, Emily reveals that every man has a little hidden button on his body. When activated, it can make even 80-year-old men stand tall and be ready to handle any young woman for 2 straight hours. Dr. Jack Jordan scientifically proved this, and the method works so well that it makes your body stay rock solid whenever you want. All you need is the salt recipe in the morning with a bit of warm water. It takes less than 15 seconds. Fun fact, this recipe was banned for over 40 years because it threatened the sales of the famous little blue pill in pharmacies. After the video about salt featuring the ex-actress went viral, I can now share it here. Just click the link in the description or the pinned comment to access everything you need to make this recipe. Watch the video alone because it includes some very steamy practical demonstrations. Jack shows exactly how to do it and the results it delivers instantly. Everything you can imagine happens right in front of the cameras with nothing censored. So grab your headphones, click the link below, and get ready for content so hot it might even make you want to join in yourself.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back, everybody. Did you know that the Wisconsin Supreme Court struck down the state's 176-year-old abortion ban on Wednesday this week? That was a law that had been in their books since before the Civil War. And it got struck down by a 4-3 ruling. Of course, you know, the liberal justices won that. And having that happen in that state when they've had that for so long, okay, is very interesting, because it shows that one of Trump's policies, one of his fucking things that he did was to ban abortion here. Okay, very unpopular, and it's created a movement in the country to reclaim what they lost. Okay, and this is a sign that people do not want this abortion ban. And I can only imagine that by next year, when people start living the results of the vote that was signed into law today, people are going to be in much the same mindset over the things in that bill next year. And they're going to want that to end too. Okay? Because as I said, nothing this man does, Trump, is a popular thing. Nothing. If there's any unpopular thing that a person could find, okay, to turn into something that we have to live under, Trump is the guy to do it. Okay, he's the one, and he will sell it as if it's a golden ticket to something greater. All right, that's his gift. And Kilmar Obrega Garcia described, some things that went on in the Salvadoran prison. And I'm going to read a little bit here of this. It says, the man that the Trump administration illegally deported to El Salvador's notorious hellhole, Secot, is finally breaking his silence on his experience there, and it's beyond horrifying, which comes as a little shock to me. Okay, I kind of figured it would be. Upon arrival at Secot, the detainees were greeted by a prison official who stated, quote, "Welcome to Secot. Whoever enters here doesn't leave," unquote. According to the account, quote, plaintiff Abrego Garcia was then forced to strip, issued prison clothing, and subjected to physical abuse, including being kicked in the legs with boots and struck on his head and arms to make him change clothes faster. His head was shaved with a zero razor, and he was frog marched to cell 15, being struck with wooden batons along the way. Abrego said he shared a cell with 20 other people who were forced to kneel overnight, quote, with guards striking anyone who fell from exhaustion. During this time, plaintiff Abrego Garcia was denied bathroom access and soiled himself. The detainees were confined to metal bunks with no mattresses in an overcrowded cell with no windows, bright lights that remained on 24 hours a day, and minimal access to sanitation. This kind of treatment is inhumane for the most hardened criminals, let alone a man who was simply born in the wrong geographic coordinates. Judging from these deplorable conditions at Trump's Alligator Alcatraz concentration camp in the Florida swamp, this kind of brutality may soon be becoming on our own soil. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, when they talked about using the real Alcatraz, using that to send these people, when they got an estimate of what it would cost to refurbish that entire facility so it could be used again, I guess if Trump or the people weren't willing to pay that kind of money, so they decided to look to the other side of the country, and they're going to create this shitty compound where if the wind blows above 10 miles an hour, everything gets wrecked. Okay, it's the worst place to build a shitty thing like this. It's in a hurricane-prone area. So they're going to build this concentration camp in Florida, and they surround it with alligators and pythons. And the people living in this compound are going to be living in tents, I guess. It's like a circus or some, thing, a tent city. And so it's not designed to last. It's designed to just, keep you there. And we're going to allow that to happen inside the United States. We're going to do this. I mean, it's not like the first time, okay? World War II, You know, the Asian Americans, rounded up, put in, you know, okay, you know where I'm going? It's not the first time we've done that in this country, but it should have been the last time, okay? We should have learned from our lessons about that, because we still have people today, like George Takei, you know, who acted in Star Trek. He was a small boy who was inside that fucking facility, okay? And he's explained exactly what it was like being a kid in that compound, concentration camp, whatever. And I figured that, you know, hey, because it happened here and people, you know, generally seem to think that was a bad thing to do, we'd never see that happen again. Well, lo and behold, here we are, okay? Apparently not everybody was on the same page when we were talking about or bashing Germany about, oh, you guys held Jewish people in concentration camps and you abused them. You starved a lot of these people. You wouldn't help them when they got sick. You burned them alive, you know, while they were alive. Okay. And yet, you know, because we took that moral high ground and we had that, you know, thing about, and we pointed our finger of, you know, judging them for what they did. But all the while, we were kind of doing the same thing here, just we weren't really killing, you know, like burning people and stuff, but we were treating these Asian Americans like crap. Okay? And now here we are, we got a whole new demographic of people that we're trying to put into oppression inside of a quagmire down in the swamps of the Everglades, rather, in Florida, where, you know, they think it's funny. They got merchandise. You got hats, you can buy shirts of this, you know, alligator Alcatraz thing. You know, if there's one thing consistent about Trump is he can take a bad idea and market it into some kind of thing you can buy from. Okay, this is the only thing that man can do. You know, he's a snake oil salesman. He always has been. Okay. Of course, then all that stuff is made in China. You know, like in his the gift shop at Trump Tower there. Everything in there, he's just made, you know, everything, you know, he's always bitching about making things in America, but over half of what's in that gift shop is from China, okay? So he's less than candid or honest here about that. But here we are, you know, in this position, and we willingly walked into it with people clapping and applauding that implementing this goddamn alligator Alcatraz, okay? People are out there thinking it's great, okay? They think it's great. It's a great idea. Let's send these fucking people there, okay, and let them sweat, you know, let them get eaten alive by bugs, let the alligators get to them, let the pythons choke them, okay? I mean, look, if that's not something coming out of the most racist attitude of people in America, you're not paying attention, okay? Only that is what started this, okay? That's the only reason why people are clapping and applauding. These are the racists. Anyone that's for it, they are racist, okay? And, you know, and I told people, you know, online, that you cannot reason with anyone who is MAGA, okay? For one thing, they refuse to admit when they're wrong. So the only way you can get them to realize they are wrong is they have to be the victims of their own agenda. And they are. Right now, they are. That bill that passed today from Trump's own hand, he's going to sign that fucking thing, okay? Their own fucking support of this man and that bill he signed is going to cause them a lot of grief, okay? A lot of grief. And it's going to be through that these people will wake up, I think, in large numbers and have to admit to themselves, even if they don't admit it to us, they'll admit it to themselves that, no, this guy ain't so good for our country. You know, I'm not seeing a better a better America. I'm actually seeing it worse than it was when Biden was president. Because people are always going to keep that in mind about how things were under Joe Biden and compare it to the time, the current time, you know, the present. They're going to always go back and do the comparison as we go through this presidency. And the question is constantly going to be put to them, are you better now than you were then? Okay? And fewer and fewer and fewer Americans are going to be able to say yes. Okay? And so that's why I say, don't waste your breath trying to talk these people off the cliff. Okay? They're going to jump the cliff. They're going to jump down that cliff, and they're going to have to get hurt on the way down. They're going to have to break their bones. They're going to have to break their arms, okay, to find out that, yeah, it is bad to jump off this cliff. Because they don't think that right now. They don't think that, you know, they even after everything's been laid out, well, maybe not everything, but even after most of what's in that bill has been laid out for people to read, they still ain't getting it. Okay? They still ain't getting the message here. They're not getting the reality of what this bill is going to bring in their lives. Okay? So, for them, they're going to jump off that cliff. And on the way down, they're going to hit all the branches and the rocks and every damn thing else. And when they finally hit the rock bottom there, okay, of this cliff, they're going to be screaming in pain. They're going to be screaming, help me, help me. Okay? These people are going to be hurting. They're going to lose everything they got. All right? It's going to be only then when these people start to cogitate on why I'm here and how did I get here. They're going to start thinking. We hope anyway. I mean, they don't think deep thoughts, but like I said, it takes a tragedy, it takes a big event in their life to snap them back to reality. Okay, like the death of a family member or your house catching fire and burning down to the ground. It's only in moments like this where these people get slapped in the face and they have to wake up to the reality of what's happened. So in this case, this bill is that slap in the face that got passed. This is the slap that's going to wake up those people in MAGA who refuse to continue to jump off cliffs. Trump may not like that, but that only means he doesn't understand human nature. It doesn't mean it means he doesn't understand a lot of things about people. If he thinks that people are just going to warm up to this guy and agree with everything he does and never change their mind, he's dead wrong. He is dead fucking wrong. Okay? The people that he has picked to work with him probably know better than he does about where a lot of this shit's going to lead. What do you think's going to happen towards the end of his presidency with these people if they're still working for him at that point? Okay, what do you think these people are going to do? To me, I think they would be looking for cover because, you know, they may not want to get tied into what Trump does to this country. They may not want to be responsible for the backlash that's coming their way. All right. These people will just disappear or suddenly turn on him. Because, look, this happens even in the smallest crime family. They turn on each other after. There's no honor among thieves, no honor among criminals, despite what they say. Okay? They will cut your throat if it benefits them. So these people will turn on each other when it gets too damn hot out there for them to even thrive in. You know, okay? You know what I'm saying? They will turn on them. And, you know, Trump is looking for something that simply will not exist. I mean, yeah, he'll find sycophants that'll follow him to a degree. They might even jump off the cliff with him. But if he thinks they're still going to be loyal with him after they fall, you know, I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think these people are going to want to continue with this man. Okay? What they're going to want is a door, an exit to get out of this shit. And Trump's going to lock it closed so they can't get out. So, when that happens, you know, I can't remember the name of who was saying that this is going to cost the Republicans their party next year. But I'm sure there's been more than one person that said it. I know I've said it, you know, pretty much. But, you know, it's been said that, you know, the ramifications of this bill being signed now are going to come in more ways than one, okay? And it's very likely that the Republicans just killed themselves yet last night when they supported this thing and passed it. Okay. And it may be all that needs to have happened in order for the Democrats to finally, without much effort, get back seats, okay, and become a majority in both houses again. And it's going to be at that point we're going to find out what Trump is made of then, because then he's going to find that because the Democrats have more power now, when they get back in there, they're going to come after him. They're going to come after his administration. They're going to go after his people. They're going to be hearings. There's going to be talk of impeachment. You know, there's going to be a lot of political battling going on, I think, next year. To get the, you know, the midterms to win. Because the country will demand it. They will demand the Democrats do something about this, because nothing good's going to come out of this bill. I just told you, this man represents all that could go wrong in America. So he will act true to form. I knew he was going to sign. I knew this would pass. I knew he would sign it. I knew this was going to happen. And everything's happening the way I kind of predicted, because, like I said, this is how you get rid of this guy. This is the way you're going to have to get rid of this guy, is that people are going to have to suffer through the pains of everything that he does in order for this whole thing to turn around, for the pendulum to swing all the way to the other side. It's going to get messy. It's going to get bloody. It's going to get violent. You can't avoid that. People are people. Humans are humans. Okay? After a while, ICE is going to find themselves on the defensive here. You know, and the military is going to be sent in. That's going to escalate things even further against Trump when he does that. So you see, this is a no-win situation for the Republicans. They might be laughing and giggling and taking, you know, some personal pleasure of watching the Democrats getting hot, raving mad, okay? But they're not going to want to be on the receiving end of that rage when it happens. And we outnumber them. We always have. We just have too many lazy people in the Democrat Party that don't want to get involved, you know, if they don't get everything they want, okay? Which nobody should ever expect. No matter what party you're in or who you're supporting, you should never expect to get everything you want, okay? It won't happen ever. It just won't happen. So get that through your head. You Democrats out there that vote, you know, only if you want to get everything you want, you're not going to get it. So stop it. Just stop it. Stop handing the country over to the rotten people because you can't get your way. You're making the situation worse even for yourself when you don't get involved. So next year, people, I hope the Democrats finally learn the lesson here that, you know, it doesn't pay not to get involved. Okay? It doesn't pay letting the other side win the elections. You send a message, but guess what? That message is not affecting them, it's affecting you, because you're the one that's going to get the raw end of the stick here. Because you did not participate or vote, you know, or vote the right way for a better candidate, which we could have had, you know, for whatever reason. I mean, I saw a poll somewhere where that there's still people in the Democrat Party who still wouldn't vote for Kamala Harris today if they were to have this election, because, you know, there was no reason given, but they still wouldn't vote for her. Even after everything, they said they'd vote third party. I guess what it really means is they would vote third party if the third party candidate was a man. You see, even even amongst the Democrats, there's some misogyny, there's some racism that exists in it. Because, like I said, nobody's perfect. We're all human. We all got flaws. We like to attribute the bad things on the Republican side, but we ignore that, you know what? They're human. We're human. We both have flaws. We got to stop pointing the finger at each other and start saying, you know what? We're all responsible. We're all responsible. Some of us, you know, are no better than, you know, the worst of us. So, like I said, we have to remember that. And honestly, this was something that came up at when I was having dinner with my family. The idea that people are looking for a third party, the only way that's ever going to happen, okay, and this is really, I'm very serious about this, the only way a third party is ever going to come to fruition in this country is when people finally accept that they have to come to the center. No more extreme right, no more extreme left, center. Do you think right now people are willing to come to the center on either side of the political arm? I don't see it. Everybody is so diametrically opposed to one another in America today that it's like this. It's we're like that. There is no center. Okay? So until we're willing to accept what one side is saying, or accept, you know what I'm saying? Until we become more open-minded and we listen to the other side, no matter how hard it is, we cannot come to the center and agree to disagree. We cannot come to the center to make deals where we have to give to get. That's the only way a third party can exist. And when you have a third party, there's no reason to have a right or a left wing. What you have is a political party comprised of elements of different, conservative, liberal, whatever, you know what I'm saying? That's what you got. But you cannot have a center when everybody wants to run to the edges. Okay, there's nothing going on in the middle. And that right there, when they said a house divided falls, okay, hey, that's why the country is coming down here, people. We are a house divided, very divided. The vote last night showed us how divided it is. Only 2 people in the Republican side were willing to come to the center, and stand against it. Okay, only 2 people. We are so opposed that even our votes reflect it. The Senate, 51-50. J.D. Vance had to break the tie. Okay, that was not last night, but 2 or 3 days before that. And then it went to the House. We're so divided we couldn't, even come to the middle there. Vance had to be the guy to break the tie, and we know where Vance stands, okay? They only won it because they had the majority. Same thing in last night. So, like I said, we're not ready yet to come to the center. And until we are, this country's not going to get fixed. Even if we hand everything over to the Democrats next year, we're still going to have our problems. Just the fighting will continue. It'll just reverse. Okay? But, like I said, if, people have said that that's the only way the United States can get back on its feet again, is we're going to have to relearn politics and the art of politics. Trump seems to think he knows the art of politics. I'm afraid he doesn't. The way he's been handling things, he's been going around with a club there to every fucking problem. That's not the way to do stuff. What you do is you have to be a person that's willing to listen and be able to assess what's good in what they say and what isn't good, be able to give them what they want, and willing to get from them what you need in exchange. The art of the fucking politics, the art of making agreements, to making deals. He should have learned that as a businessman. He's been in it long enough. If he was as smart as people say he is in business, he would have known how to broker this fucking issue here with the big, beautiful bill thing, to be able to protect something that was, very important to one side, and still get his tax cuts to the wealthy. Okay, you know what I'm saying? There would have been something like that done, but he couldn't do it. He wanted it all. He wanted it all the way it was. Okay, that's the way he works. And that's unrealistic. I mean, sure, he won at the end of the day, but what did he do? He divided the country even deeper. Now people are more mad at him than they were before. Okay? At the end of the day, when it comes time to cash in the chips, he's going to be without enough to pay, to bail his ass out, because he's not going to have enough support. It's not a good way to do business. And it's not a good way to do government either. But we've had too many political leaders, you know, senators, congressmen, you know, presidents who've come and gone, okay, and have made the situation, made the divisions worse in this country, all right? And unfortunately, Trump is not the guy to fix this. He's not. He's going to make it worse. It's like the darkness before the dawn. Okay, he's got to bring absolute darkness to this country before we wake up and understand how we got there and what we need to do to reverse it, you know. So anyway, if you're going to go see the fireworks wherever you are, I hope you enjoy it. I'm not going out there today. It's where I'm at, it's a clusterfuck whenever they have the fireworks, because there's like only 2 ways in and out of there, and it's like traffic takes you longer than it should to get out of there, you know. And so subscribe, comment, and share. Keep your ears open for health-related issues, okay? And you know, you got a neighborhood you live in, I hope. But try to make an effort to be kinder to your neighbors, to be helpful to your neighbors. What can I say? I mean, we're gonna have to, with all the misery that's being spread around here, we gotta do some good. You know, there has to be a counterbalance in life. If everything is too much one way, we got to do something to pull it the other way. You know what I'm saying? So let's try and level this thing here better as we go through these times, to try to spread good out there, to put a smile on people's faces for fucking anything. Holding a door open for somebody, saying thank you. You know, what is that thing you used to say? Pay forward or something like that. You know, help people out, you know, if you can. You know, just think of, you know, doing something good, you know, each day, even if it's just one thing. Try to do something good, okay? We have to put some kind of goodness out there to make life seem like it's worth saving. Otherwise, what the hell are we here for? All right, I'll talk to you guys later, so take care, buddy.